All right. Welcome everybody to today's live interaction with Global Changemakers. We have a very special guest today. We have Mr. Timothy Kirkman, who is presently a social innovator. He has traveled from US to India, right now in Goa, and his life journey started with being an army man to being an entrepreneur in India. So let's learn more about him and his journey of life. So hi Tim.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, thank you very much.
So what has been your journey of life? Like what brought you from the US Army to being a social entrepreneur in the energy space?
Well, that's a good question. I guess I started out with a love of science, a love of innovation. Let's see, some of the things that were always hallmark for me, even before joining the military, was to look at problems in new ways. So after finishing the military, I had some good experience in working with other people, learning how to work as a team, getting things accomplished, leadership skills, how can you say, accomplishing goals. So I felt like it was a good introduction for me into the outside world of building relationships with other people as well.
So we hear that you are focusing presently on a green energy solution.
That's correct.
Would you give us some brief about it and what is the USP of this?
Okay, what is the unique selling point?
Yes.
All right. I guess you could say that the unique selling point is that there's nothing like it. There with the possibility later on of being the world's largest battery. This is something that I think is very possible in the near future. And this is not only just a battery for home use. This is a battery that's going to be commercial for the grid. So all renewables possible is for putting into the battery. And my battery is yet to be tested in the sense of how much kilowatt per hour input and output. I'm still in the stage of the experiment with this, but when this is final, the price point could be a little more understood, if you know what I mean.
And how do you see that the batteries that you are creating, which would conserve the solar power, solar electricity, how are they different than the ones which are presently available?
Good question. The ones presently available today, they have a shelf life, 10, 25 years, and then they need to be maintained all the time. My intentional battery is there's no maintenance. Very minimal moving parts, and that in the future, well, I'm only using air, so this is something that's very different. So there's not going to be any chemicals, there's not going to be any pollution. Simply, I am creating cool and cold air is what I use for the battery.
So is there any materiality analysis that is being taken care of in the batteries that you are using? I would also like to welcome Dr. Hopkins, Mr. Prakash, Pakshal, Monath, and Mr. Saurabh Acharya to join us.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So back to the question. So what has been the materiality analysis of this particular battery? Would it be reusable, or what would you do after it is?
After it is finished? From my understanding, materiality, yes, of what you're saying is that most of the parts that I intend to use in the battery are going to be recycled. So things like recycled plastic, I hope someday to be following recycled plastic incorporating into my batteries. And there's no heavy metals, there's no chemicals. So really everything that is involved is totally 100% recyclable.
So why did you choose India as a destination for startup?
Well,
and that too in green energy.
I understand. It's a good question. I, at this point, didn't choose India. India chose me. Because of what has happened in the whole world today, I was literally in lockdown in India for the last year. So I took this time to really work on my battery, refine some of the processes, and hopefully get a prototype up and running within this year before I leave India.
What are the prospective key clientele that you see to build up in India and in the USA?
Well, I hope to use all nations, actually. I hope that the battery will be used along, it's used in conjunction with the shoreline. So every country, every nation, every island nation has the possibility of using my battery, you know? So I hope to use all renewables from all countries in order to charge my battery and then can be put back into the grid later on for later use.
Okay. Alisa was to join, but her question was, what is it like to be an American in India?
Well, I guess I'm the same wherever I go. So I find my relationships here are very wonderful, and the people here are pretty amazing. As an American, it's a little different, but it's still people are people everywhere you go, and I respect this and I enjoy this very much. Getting to know the culture in India, getting to know the food and the friendships. It's rather educational and very heartwarming.
And what are the differences in the business practices that you have seen, especially in the legal system and the compliances?
I haven't had much experience. In this, I've only been in India for this 1 year. This was my first time to India. So I haven't conducted any business with anybody per se in the matter of legalities. I know everything takes time. And I think that's the most experience that I have, is finding out that if I want to get something done, it just takes time. And with this pandemic that's going on as well, it's taking more time. So I'm just sensitive to that. And I hope to be doing more business with people in India and understanding that system better. Come and ask me again in 10 years.
And any value differences that you have seen or observed?
Between American business practice, no, and Indian practice. Again, my experience is limited as far as in India, but I do know that people are able to get things done if need be. I would say the availability of skilled workers, people that are ingenuitive, are readily available here instead of dealing with like a big box store in America where you always are subject to the same type of thing, you know? So people here are very good at fixing what is needed to be fixed or tweaking things that are, let's say, just need to work. This idea that let's make it happen is very, very much so. I see this in India and in Asia.
And how do you see that sustainable products like green energy that you're creating, how do you see that it will impact the international businesses?
Well,
I see you build some notes.
Yes, I did. Let's see. Could you ask me that again, please?
So how do you see that the sustainable businesses and the green energy business that you are in will affect the international business in short and the long term during and post-COVID?
Well, I hope that it will actually lower the cost of overall energy. If we're using renewables to charge batteries like my battery in the future, that it will lower the cost for all energy consumers in the future. So I think that this will only help businesses. If your overall costs are lower, obviously you can invest in other places in your business. And I hope that I can give this gift to all businesses across the nations.
Right. Thanks. I'm sure we have questions out here. Dr. Hopkins, and welcome, Mr. Rola. Good to see you around.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining.
Hi.
So, I guess the mic is connected or not connected. Mr. Rola, can we see you also? I see that you have unmuted yourself.
Yeah.
Though we can't see you. And we would like to hear as well. Just a minute. Yes. Hi.
Hi, ma'am. Hi.
Hi, Saurav.
So, are we open for questions?
Yes, yes. It's a
Yeah,
question
yeah, yeah,
Q&A
yeah, yeah.
round.
Yeah, so I would like to know more about permaculture that sir is doing and how it is different from organic farming that is coming up in India in recent times. Like we see a lot of young people are they're leaving their jobs and they're leaving everything, their well-paid jobs and coming back to India and buying land and doing organic farming. They see a very good potential in that. How it
Mhm.
is different from the work you do on permaculture.
That's a great question. I'm glad you're making that observation. Yeah, the world is totally. Oh, sorry. The world is actually going to change a lot, I think, because of what's happened. People will be returning to their rural homes and farming, and it's very important that they are saving costs over time. And this has a lot to do with what we put into the earth, for nutrients and things like this. So I do believe that a sustainable permaculture practice learnt by those going home can be very helpful. But then there are practices that have been around for thousands of years that have sustained farming traditions throughout all these agricultural areas. I'm really glad that here in Asia that some of those practices are still being taught and that people, the older generation is still able to teach the younger generation about these things. Because really food is the most important thing. Once we can take care of this and once we can, have quality food where it is not involved in chemicals and things like this, that our health is also really good. And if we have good health, then we have a good mind, and it goes on and it goes on. But it all starts with the food, of course. So I'm really happy to hear that there's interested people in India that are looking at this sustainable agriculture, permaculture, husbandry of animals, working with the land. This is our mother, no? Like she is giving us everything we need, and we must work with her in a delicate balance. So there are some people in the east, like Australia, southeast. One gentleman is named Bill Mollison. He started this off early in the 1970s. And if you follow some of his work and some of his books, he was able to create what they call food farms and food forests. And these ideas that everything was readily available around you through managing waterfall on the land. And it goes on and on, but I highly recommend that you look up Bill Mollison as there's plenty of publications and YouTube videos about his work, and he can explain some good things about this. Have you heard of anybody, Bill Mollison or any of these guys in permaculture? Have you heard this term in India at all?
No, sir, no, sir.
Okay, all right.
So I basically know permaculture is something that it is self-dependent. It is an ecosystem that is self-dependent on the like available resources all around, and there is very less human interaction in it. But
Mm,
organic farming is something that you like. We are all educated now. Our people are knowing that due to globalization, we get vegetables at like they add lot of insecticide, pesticides, so a lot of people are going for organic. It's costly, but yeah, they're like people are like they don't mind spending money on organic products. So people are like now I know people, they are coming back to India, they're leaving their well-paid jobs and doing organic farming for the same. So my question was that how it is different, like how it the permaculture can replace or it is something different. Can it be like it can be like used to produce any fruits or vegetables as such?
Is permaculture different? Can it be used to produce fruits and vegetables as such?
yeah, permaculture is basically the same meaning as sustainable farming here in India. Um, if you look at that, all it is just about working with the land and not putting in harmful chemicals, using all those things. Yes. So don't get caught up just in the words. Permaculture and sustainable farming, they're both about the same thing. It's just about being a good steward of the land, and making sure that we reap all the good benefits that we put in with our hands. I don't think it's going to affect my project too much. One of the things I learned, as far as your earlier question, thank you, is about my business and what I'm doing. And actually, as you study some of the Bill Mollison's interviews and some of his lectures on his farming methods, you will see that really it's just very similar to the work that I'm doing in another way. So I'm just capturing natural processes on the earth to capture energy and then give back to us to use later on. That's yeah, a great question. I'm really happy to hear that you guys are interested in that kind of stuff. So that's really great.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hopkins, I see you.
Yeah, hi, Harsha, and
Hi, sir.
hi, Timothy. Yeah, I had some technical problems here, and I'm afraid I missed the first. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Closer to my microphone. I had some technical problems here to begin with, and I'm afraid I missed the beginning of your talk, and it sounded absolutely fascinating. And what intrigues me as an innovator is how you really start. I mean, you have the idea to create a renewable battery using alternative energy, which is what I understand is what you're doing. So you have the idea, you get up one day. Now, you know that there are many companies around the world are also looking at the same issue. So when you get up for the first day, what do you do? Where do you start? So I think a lot of us who have ideas wonder sometimes, as I'm working on something myself, which I won't reveal right now, but not because it's particularly secret, it's just that I'm still thinking about it. But so how did you actually, when you got up one morning and said, I'm going to work on a battery, maybe you did it already. I missed the early part of your talk. I'm sorry for that. But then what did you do?
Yeah, what do I do once I have the idea? Well,
yeah,
it's a step back from my original idea, which is a turbine for waves. I'm hoping to capture wave energy. I'm originally from the west coast of the US, and we have some nice waves, and I'm very close to the ocean there as well, and that's one of the reasons I'm here in Goa. But I wanted to incorporate my turbine design into a battery. That way, basically my turbine is charging the batteries, and this is another renewable resource that can be used that's coming, every day and night. The waves are just amazing for me. So what I will say is that on the battery, it's the idea that I might be able to get funding, and I might be able to start up research for the turbine, and which I think is even the next better step for me. I want to capture wave energy in a way that is not going to affect so much the aquatic life. And I am working very close to the ocean. So I got up and I said, well, I need to build a prototype of this battery. And so I started with a very small one. And in fact, now we're moving on to the next stage, which is one I hope to set up to, I will say this, I've got a solar panel installation just being built here in the next week. And I want to use that exclusively to charge my battery. And I can take and draw tests about what is better as far as how much storage time I'm getting on the traditional battery and how much is coming from mine. So I need to scale up and size my battery before I take it to market. But yeah, so really it's just, it goes with wanting to see it built, and it's in the head, it's already there. So I have to get it out on paper. It's been bothering me too much, so. Yeah.
No, many congratulations on your innovation. I'm very impressed, not being particularly practical myself. But I still wonder that many people have been looking at battery technology to capture alternative energy right across the world. So can you leapfrog or piggyback on that existing technology? I imagine you do, no?
No, sir, I don't, because the battery itself is not any chemical process. There is one right now that they're using old mines in some parts of Europe, I think in wellheads, where they use this technology called CAS, compressed air storage. And it's a very similar type of situation of using compressed air to store the renewable energies that are created, throughout the day and then redistributed at night. But their systems are, my battery and charging system doesn't have any moving parts really. So I'm using processes that are going to be very easy to maintain. I hope will last many generations without any maintenance. And that's my goal really, is to have a product that is virtually maintenance free. And you know, we build all these infrastructures, these bridges, and they break down, and we leave that to the next generation to have to take care of, and you know, so on and so forth. So whatever we do, or whatever I choose to do in this earth, I hope that I can leave something behind that is not a burden for the next generation. So that's really been the inspiration for me in this particular design and the particular way that I went about it.
I have another question as you're talking. I'm going to jump. As you can see, that I'm actually also on the Indian Ocean, but on the other side of it from where you are. So if you look out the window and wave to me, I'll wave back. I think we're about 3,000 miles away. You should be able to see me. But here in Africa, with just north of us is Somalia, which has the longest coastline in Africa. And my in-laws are very much involved in the politics there. And then they're keener to develop oil resources than they are to look at, because I reckon with solar energy, because it's semi-desert most of the country. With solar panels, they could probably power most of Africa, but they're not looking at that. They're looking at the oil. So what argument can I use to my sister-in-law who's running for president? I'm not sure she'll get there, but what argument can I say, listen, you know, the price of oil is probably going to go down, and can't we get into renewables? The other advantage I've said to her about renewable energy, especially the solar energy and to a certain extent wind, is that small groups can actually run it. I mean, the solar panels don't need to be massive fields. It could actually just be a village, could run 10 or 20 panels. And in that way, you'll get the income that's coming from it spread around much more. So the logic to me seems impeccable, but not to my colleagues. So Timothy, maybe I could get you online one day with some of my colleagues, and you could explain, or maybe you could help me bolster my argument some more.
Yeah, I would love to have a dialogue in the future. Yeah, let's go ahead and connect, and you know, let me know more about it offline. We can do this again and talk a little bit more. So yeah, I would like that.
Okay, let me put you in touch with some of the politicians and try and get them. I'm just furiously been trying to get them off oil for so long now, and they're convinced that they've got vast resources of oil because of, you know, they're in the Yemen, they think plateau and the rest of it. And I'm trying. I don't know about you, but it strikes me that the oil is on its way out. There'll always be some use for it, of course, but it's kind of on the way out. And your country, of course, is quite interesting. The United States, what's happening there. We watch with great interest how logic and illogic seem to be going together. And I certainly don't blame the scientists in your country at all. But isn't this amazing how logic and illogic, and I think to a certain extent India has a bit of that too. My own country, I'm from Britain originally, has the same mixture of logic and illogic. The Britain, by the way, is shooting itself in the foot and destroying the country by leaving the European Union. And my friend this morning has just found out that he can't use his passport anymore. And he's been living in France for the last 30, 40 years. So logic and illogic, just a thought for the day. Thank you anyway. Timothy, thanks so much for your work, and I'm a great admirer of what you're doing, sir, and very happy to see you provoking Harsha.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you as well.
I appreciate you joining in, sir. We see Mr. Rola also. He's a veteran CSR leader. And we see Pakshal and Akash. Please share your questions. So would you like to? So you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I joined in a little late. and may not have the entire details and maybe repeating some questions.
Please.
The need to store that you have created would be voluminous, if I think so, and can be used only for farms and houses and not for mobile in the sense moving objects like the cars and the scooters and the bikes.
Good question, sir. Yeah. Initially, it's going to be set up just for the grid. And in a way, what I hope to do is we're using renewables, obviously, to charge the battery. And then hopefully that battery can output for other things like cars, like next to the city, running all the renewables for hopefully the battery cars and stuff like that. We're going to get into, I guess, the future of a lot of electric cars, no? So these will be different kind of batteries than what I'm using.
No, you could probably become a charging station for the battery cars.
Yeah, like this, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what would be the minimum volume size of the battery? Would it be about 100 feet by 100 feet? Or meters or millimeters?
I'll put it this way: the potential is to chain up batteries like this. So it's like if you got one 12-volt battery and just put a bunch more in a line, this would be the same as my battery. It's really going to be dependent on environmental circumstances. So what kind of landscape? I will say that I'm using in conjunction right next to the ocean. I'm using the real estate of the ocean, and it will be under the ocean. So this is one other aspect. Hopefully we'll be incorporating a little bit of research on the ocean floor as well to see what kind of effects the batteries are having on the wildlife and the ecosystem around there. So yeah, it's going to be anything that's close to the ocean, which is kind of how many million of people live along the coastline. So I hope it will be for those that we can do that. Yeah.
So you should align with those who are manufacturing aeroplanes and the boats which run on battery. So they can all come have a floating station next to your ocean side.
Yeah.
And they're all good to go.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that would be
possible.
Nice. Yes, sir. Thank
you. A little to tell you what my interest in batteries is. I work with the RV Rehab Center over here, and in the process of manufacturing electric carts, both push carts and ride-on carts, which could be used in railway platforms, which could be used by vendors on the street, which could be a golf cart, which could be a wheelchair cart and the likes. But this is all done by the young soldiers who retire at the age of 32, 33. But that's the army rule, that they work under such harsh conditions. So they have no choice but to retire at 33. So to rehab them into a livelihood program, I'm setting up this unit and take it all across the country. And it'll be fully manned only by these retirees, who are all very young officers who've been trained so well with hand skills that they can live with dignity rather than work as guards here and there.
Sir, thank you.
So lithium battery for me is one of my lifeline for the entire project. So when Harsha reached out and said there is someone going to talk about batteries, I know it was not going to be a replacement to lithium, but I thought it's good to know what's happening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And your project is wonderful. No, I'm being a soldier myself and spending 10 years in the military. It would have been nice to come out and meet somebody who is doing something as yourself and to work with such a good program. So
I also work with another pan IITN initiative, which is called as I Create, who are into developing entrepreneurial skills for these soldiers. So I'm in the downstream, that they finish doing the entrepreneurial skills and then I say, okay, come on and become a franchisee in creating electric carts. And so it's a good hand holding that we do. So I hope I can get the first prototype out by Jan, and then my mentorship program starts for them.
Oh, good luck, sir. Thank you.
So if your project that could come out, there's enough soldiers living on various seashore cities of India, including Chennai and Goa and the likes. So I would love to know more as you go by and see if those projects can be manned by these men who are the most ablest and most disciplined and skilled people you'll ever get. Being a soldier, you'll know that.
Yes, sir.
And I also work with the military engineering group, guys who have been setting up bridges overnight to allow the trucks to pass through valleys and the likes at high altitude. So you can imagine how fast and how good they are.
Yes, sir. You warmed my heart. Thank you. Yeah.
So at what stage are you? You are at beta site, you're finished your prototypes, you are already part commercial?
The stage that I'm at is I'm going to hopefully take my prototype out into service by right around Jan 1. And then I can start monitoring the output, input, and have a better understanding of the real viability, the selling point, the cost point of this battery. So, I mean, obviously I'm investing some money in a solar panel set and some batteries and these other things. So
yeah,
I want to get the system actually up and running, hopefully by, it would be nice Jan 1, but you know, you never know. Things are sometimes get held up. So, but I'm not leaving until the job's finished, sir. So
it's just coincidental. My target is also Jan 1st.
I wish you good luck. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So is there something that you can send to me through Harsha as a document for me to read exactly what the technology is that you're looking at?
I will put across an email introduction soon after this.
Good. So how's Goa looking after you? I can see all the Chinese lanterns all around,
Yes, sir,
up on the ceiling.
It's treating me much better than being locked down at my home, working out of my bedroom on the same desk every day.
I know.
Yeah, starting from 6 till night, 12 o'clock, just in front of the computer. This makes me feel human. Over there,
I'm quite amazed by your energy, because the way you keep churning out Zoom calls, I wonder where does this lady get so much of energy?
So now you know where I am.
Yes.
I'm with him, and there is enough wave energy around us.
Very good. That's nice. And I see a lot of smoke. I hope nothing is on fire.
No, it's for
mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes. Yeah.
Achha, okay. Okay.
I really appreciate that you could make it for this one.
No, my pleasure. And how long are you around in India and Goa?
Sir, I would like to change my visa out. I came as a tourist originally, so I'm hoping.
Settle down in Goa.
Sir, it would be lovely to do that.
It's the ideal place.
It is, and you know, I'm hoping I can work with a lot of people here. The people are really.
Yeah, you want any help on locals participating in any workshop or industry kind of thing in Goa? Most of my classmates are from Goa.
Oh wow, sir.
Or at least the gang I hang around with in college was all from Goa.
Well,
so I could put you on to them.
Thank you, sir.
So that gives me an idea. We are going to have CSR meetup live in Goa.
Oh,
and I'll send you the invite, and you can send it to your friends, and you're more than welcome to join us.
Oh, let's see. COVID is keeping me away from anywhere. The only outing I do is I play golf and come back home and work from home. Let's see how long this will keep us at home.
Oh, yes, sir. I think we still can work together. So.
Yeah. But did you fly in of late, or you've been here for a long time with COVID around?
I was here in December last year.
Ah, say that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year, but it's been good.
Yeah, you completed a year. That's good.
So thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Sir, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
We have Pakshal and Akash also with us. Do you all have any questions?
Ma'am, I would like to add another question. Yes, sir. So as you have mentioned earlier that I am personally happy that you're working in India in Goa, but I would like to like as you mentioned that it's India that chose me, not the other way around. So, sir, I am well aware that for wave energy and solar energy, the Arab countries like Dubai, Kuwait, the whole of UAE are they are the pioneers of wave and solar energy. So
Mm.
why you didn't choose that and you chose India over going to that countries and starting this with?
It's a good question.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
I'm self-taught, so I'm not affiliated with any school or college. And in the past, when I had this idea about 5 years ago, I reached out to a few of the, let's say, wave energy companies, wave plants, of all the emails that I sent out, of all the correspondence that I sent to these colleges. I got really not a bunch of response. And what I found out is that you needed to be a part of the college, you needed to be a part of these institutions already in order to get kind of in the door. So it was about who you knew. Um, I didn't have those connections in the Western world. So I felt that it was a lot easier for me to come here, share my vision, and actually build it and have people see it. And once it's built and seen, then, you know, it's a live, real thing. That's much easier for me here to do and experiment. I feel like anything's possible here in Asia, more so than Europe. It's so much more regulated. There's so many more loopholes that you have to run through, and it's very costly. So yeah, India's been really good for being an inventor, being an explorer, being a person in Asia in general. If you just want to be a person who's a creator, it's a great place to be.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. So it's basically like why be a smaller fish in a bigger pond when you can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. There is a lot of things to explore here in India, and there are a lot of things to like find and keep to the world from India itself. So
Well said.
because yes, sir. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, sir. I wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, Saurabh, for being able to join in. Akash and Pakshal, do you all have any questions?
Good evening, sir. Jai Jinendra, sir.
Good evening, Paxel. How are you?
Sir, I'm fine, sir. My question is, can we in near future can we get solar cars? Like battery is not a good solution for ever time. So can we get solar cars in near future where whenever we get stop on our highways?
I think it is possible to mix, you know, putting solar panels on cars. There has been some experiments for that, you know, but it obviously is a limited amount of time in the day. So um, they are developing, I believe, gallium solar panels, which is it's kind of a rare earth metal, but it's very much more compact and high output kind of situation. But right now, these, you know, there's people are always constantly experimenting with solar cells and trying to make a better product. I believe that in the future it would be very possible to do this. In fact, you know, now we're seeing maybe drones that are getting solar panels as well in small scales, you know. So this industry will keep growing and evolving over time. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think it is possible, my friend. Yeah.
And second, sir, when we eat like Lay's Uncle Chips, it all comes in plastic. So can we get from there is every company have corporate social responsibility. So company can do one thing. I think that the wrap the plastic they have the outer packet. So can we get in research and development that that type of plastic would automatically generate in biodegradable, or company would get again from the shopkeepers and do recycle that type of plastic and do reuse? Because the plastics the it is
Mm.
very main plastic that we expose to the environment, and it is the most largest, because every youth or every person lace and chips thing all should eat. So what your idea about that?
Well, I think we should be closer to our food source. You know, this goes back into the permaculture idea that your food comes from around you and that you're eating mostly closely to the land. We can't change the plastic is already here. That's already set up and that's already in the chain. I think the best thing we can do is separate the plastic from our food chain and try not to have it, a part of our lives so much, because it does, once it gets in the soil and gets in the landscape, it does become a part of our food, and then it's in our bodies. And these long chain molecules, and I'm not a chemist in that sense where I understand, all the different chemical chains and molecular chains in plastic. But to be honest and frank with you, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the food packaging industry. We just have to get, as far as I'm concerned, I think we need to move closer to the, farming in the cities, even if we live in the cities, having more cities where you're interacting with growing your own food right then and there. Does that make sense? Processed foods and all these things, they're cheap, but they're not the best for us.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your good telling me, sir.
Very welcome. Best of luck. Thank you, Fox.
So thank you everyone for being able to join in, and I hope this was a valuable and knowledgeable session. In case anyone else wants to be connected with Mr. Timothy, please let me know. You have my email ID, harsha@csr.com. Timothy, why don't you give your email ID?
Yeah, please feel free to email me at, it's funny Malcolm, but it's spelled a little funny. It's FUNNEEMALCOM So funnymalcolm@gmail.com. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can look at me up on LinkedIn as well. And I think you can share this through.
Yeah.
So there'll be some ways that I look forward to hearing from all of you in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sora, for joining in and for the wonderful question. Thank you, Pakshal. Thank you, Akash. Thank you, Mr. Rola. Was good to see you. Thank you, Dr. Hopkins.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Harsha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Timothy.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
It's all right. Bye. Have a great weekend.
Take care, everybody. Best wishes. Thank you so much.